Welcome back, Byron Katie. Byron Katie, author of 1,000 Names for Joy, and also Loving What Is, and creator of the process. Did we call it a process? Called The Work?
The Work.
These 4 questions will join any program you've got and enhance it. Any religion you have, they'll enhance it. If you have no religion, they will bring you joy, and they'll burn up anything that isn't true for you. They'll burn through to the reality that has always been waiting. And the 4 questions are,
is it true?
Is it true?
Can you absolutely know that it's true?
Mm-hmm.
And you identify a concept, and then you apply these questions to that concept. 3rd question, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? And the 4th question, who would you be without that thought?
Okay.
And then I invite people to turn the thought around.
Okay, well, let's start, because the last time you were here, you said when you first discovered the work, when you were able to come into this, that you were 200 pounds,
mm-hmm.
over 200 pounds,
yes.
and that you had been depressed and agoraphobic and really at rock bottom, suicidal, and all of those things, and then the cockroach rolled over your foot. You had the awakening, and since then life has turned around for you.
Radically.
Radically.
Yeah.
And have you not suffered since that day?
Not suffered since that day.
And that was how long ago, Katie?
That was 22 years ago.
You have not suffered?
I haven't experienced that. Well, you know, I'm very open to suffering, and I haven't experienced sadness, but I'm very open to sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very open to anger. But you have to believe your stressful thoughts before you can experience those emotions.
How do you define suffering?
Sadness, resentment, anger. But, you know, I cry a lot. I'm moved to tears.
But not suffering, not to the
genuine. No suffering.
Have you not lost a loved one?
Yes, I lost my mother a couple of years ago. And
did you not suffer?
Well, I didn't.
You didn't suffer?
I didn't.
How?
Oh, I'm so full of love, there's no room for it. My goodness, I dropped my whole schedule and I went to live with her. She had pancreatic cancer, and I stayed with her. And my goodness, you know, I'm still waiting for her to die. When she died, I was holding her hand, looking directly into her eyes, and she was there, and then she wasn't, and I continued to look directly into her eyes to see death, and it never happened. It was all in my mind. And because I don't mind death, I see death as a wonderful thing. I see life as a wonderful thing. So, you know, when people are frightened of death...
When you say it wasn't there, you said she'd gone, though. She disappeared. She disappeared.
She was there, and then she wasn't.
She was there, and then she wasn't.
Mind stopped identifying as that human being was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And when a mind can no longer identify with a body, you know, when the mind says move, stand up, sit down, and the body won't do it, it quickly discovers its own game, and there's no way to identify any longer. So it's everything.
So if you don't suffer, what do you do when you're feeling bad?
You don't.
Do you feel badly?
No, I don't feel badly. Oh, that sounds so ridiculous.
No,
yes.
No, it sounds great to me.
Well, you know,
like I want some of that.
You know,
you don't feel badly? You don't have bad days?
No, not yet. As I say, I am wide open. No.
Okay, so what do you feel when you are not? Are you joyous all the time?
Well, there's a balance, and it isn't what people maybe would consider joy to be, like happy.
Not zippity-doo-dah.
Yeah, and that happens also, but there's a balance,
a peace, a contentment.
Yeah, yes, and self-realization, until it's lived, there's no power in it. It has to be lived, love lived, and there isn't anything more powerful than that.
Well, I love what you're saying, that the main reason you don't suffer ever is because...
I don't believe my stressful thoughts. I don't believe the thoughts that used to stress me out. For example, back to my mother, when she died, like the work is 4 questions and a turnaround. After a person has questioned what they have believed, their stressful thoughts that they have believed, then, for example, they might think, first, oh, my mother died.
Mm-hmm.
But you question what you believe, and it's, my mother died. And it's a celebration.
Okay,
and you feel so connected. My mother died. I'm so sad. Turned around. My mother died. I am so happy for her. I'm so happy for me.
Why would I be happy if my mother died?
Well, let's look at that. If your mother has pancreatic cancer, why is she better off? Or the baby that dies, that we say they haven't lived out their life. Of course they've lived out their life. That was their life. From here to there, that was their life. It wasn't too late or too early.
But I wanted it to be longer.
And you lose. You know, there is
And
there
so
is
therefore
reality.
I'm going to suffer because of that.
That's right, because you're arguing with what is.
Okay.
Now, why is it a better thing that my mother died? She no longer suffers. I don't have to watch her suffer.
But I wanted her to be here with me.
Well, there you have it. You know, it's a totally selfish thing. It's like, don't die. It doesn't matter. I'm more comfortable when you live. That is so egoic.
And that is what you mean by
painful.
loving what is or being able to accept what is.
Yes, no matter what happens.
Okay.
You know, I was blind, so blind. I had an eye disease, a Fuchs dystrophy, very painful disease. And I continued with a full schedule. I traveled all over the world. I fell down staircases, flights of stairs, bumped into walls. I had amazing experiences. But and now I've got 2 cornea transplants. They said that couldn't happen, but my husband, Stephen Mitchell, he's a most amazing man.
Right.
He Googled until he found a way, and I was like the 40th
cornea
guinea
transplant
pig.
person,
Yeah, and oh my goodness. And people say, have you rejected the transplants? And I said, I'm never going to reject the transplants. They can reject me. I'm certainly not going to reject them, but they have a right to reject me. Everything has a right to its life.
Okay. So you say in the beginning of Loving What Is that it is our thoughts about a given situation that causes us suffering. When we label the situation.
The thoughts we're believing.
The thoughts that we're believing about the situation, and that it is our resistance to whatever the moment is. Now, I actually was reading your book and was reading your book on a Thursday night, and then had to do something all day Friday, and that evening, Friday evening, I started to get really, really, really sick. I mean, all of a sudden my body ached, my bone, I was sore, achy inside myself. So much so I didn't even think I was going to make it home and, make it to bed. And there was only my dogs in the house with me and security. I remember in the middle of the night being too tired to wake up to even, I was like groggy and wanted to ask security to bring some water, but too tired to reach for the phone to even say bring some water. So I was really sick. And suddenly I had the thought, after reading your book, I'm going to stop resisting being sick. I'm going to let it, because I'm trying not to be sick. I'm in the middle of sick, going, oh, I can't believe how sick I am. I was so sick, I was so sick. I suddenly had the thought or feeling that I'm going to release my resistance to being sick. I'm going to embrace it. I said I'm going to embrace it. Makes me want to cry thinking about it. I said I'm going to embrace it and see what happens. I fell asleep and I woke up miraculously cured.
It is amazing to love what is. See, that's a description.
And I wouldn't have thought I would have been
is.
able to get out of bed in the next 3 days. I was thinking, how am I going to get to work? How am I going to fly back across country? How am I
have goosebumps. You stopped arguing with reality.
I stopped fighting it.
It's a magical world. And then if you get still and you go back and you look at how your body really was, and you look back, was that pain? Was it really pain, or was it something else?
I don't know what it was. I now don't know what it was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like what we are calling sadness or sadness. I invite people to question that. Is it sadness or is it love? And to get really still. Are those feelings sadness or are they love, like when a loved one dies? And to get really honest about it. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's not sadness.
Well, I am going to cry because I lost my dog, Sophie, and she'd been with me for 13 years, every day, everywhere. And I was sitting alone this weekend just thinking about her, and I passed a picture of her on the wall. And I had that feeling. I mean, is this, trying to be in touch with what am I really feeling? What am I really feeling? Yes. I miss her physical body because she slept on the bed every night. But what I'm really feeling is a deep, deep love for her. A deep love for her. A deep love for her. And wondering if I was I able, this is the same thing I know everybody feels when they lose a loved one, and I would say Sophie is the closest, I was going to say closest person, closest entity that I've lost, you know, as an adult. And so I question whether or not, you know, I did everything for this little dog. She's had chemotherapy and 2 surgeries, and she was getting another shunt for her neck, for her kidneys, and so forth. So I did everything for her. Now I question, was I fully present for her? Yeah.
It's like, were you doing everything for her?
I did everything for her.
Was it for you?
Yeah.
You know, was it more for you than Sophie? And it's just interesting things to look at.
Yeah.
But, you know, as you discuss Sophie, you know, I can see her, and I don't even know what kind of dog she was, and I think I do. But, I mean, yeah. But as we think of her, don't you see her? I see her, and I never met her. Don't you see her? So she died. Is it true? I mean, they don't die. And every time this visit, they come to our mind, like Sophie comes to your mind. She hits your mind, and then love happens.
Right.
And we name it sadness. But all of those years, 13 years being with Sophie, are there. And like you did with your sickness, if you allow it, she never leaves. And that kind of love, you know, I'd like to say, no one can leave me. They don't have that power. It's here. It's here in your mind, and it hits your heart.
Right. Correct.